Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm doing a video that further explains one of the little quotes that I post every day. The quote that I posted said, "Overexplaining is a learned response to gaslighting." And somebody had asked if I would do a video about that, discussing it more in depth. And you guys, first of all, just thank you so much for your comments, because sometimes when, from my perspective at least, this is something very basic and I just assumed everybody knows it. And so I really appreciate your comments to kind of remind me that some people are still learning about how narcissistic abuse feels, what the responses are to a situation where you've been abused. And so I'm really glad I get to do this video. I really hope that this does help you. So first of all, another one of those quotes that I had posted a while ago said, "You can't make people love you by offering them more of what they already don't want." So a lot of times when people are dealing with narcissists, they assume that, if I do more, if I say something more, if I can do this better, if I can do that better, if I can somehow fulfill this need for them to be loved, then they will change their behavior, they will start to love me, they will start to appreciate me, they'll want to spend time with our family, they'll be a good husband, they'll be a good wife, whatever the case may be, right? That your actions could somehow impact the mental illness that is happening in a person, and especially somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, or somebody who at least exhibits severe amounts of narcissistic traits, is absolutely wrong. And that's actually the first sign of a codependent mindset. Somebody who's codependent believes that they can and they must control all of the circumstances in their lives. So what the consequences may or may not be for the narcissist, how people view the narcissist, how people view your family or the entity around the narcissist. Codependent people believe that that's all on them. And this is also a learned response to narcissistic abuse, believing that you can impact somebody's behavior by the way that you behave. That is another form of manipulation, which I've talked about this before on this channel, right? The person who has experienced narcissistic abuse will often adopt traits of the narcissist because it's a learned response. And so you have to be able to see those things in yourself so that you can it also has to do with the trauma bond, so that you can start breaking the trauma bond and move on with your own life. So when it comes to over-explaining, this is one of those times where you feel if you offer them more of something, then that person will respond to you differently, right? Okay, I see. Now you gave me enough information. Now you told me enough times. So now I love you. Now I appreciate you. Now I'll respect you, whatever the situation may be. And that's what happens with over-explaining. You hope that this is actually learned when you're with the narcissist. So you might not be with the narcissist anymore, but you might still do over-explaining. So this is a learned behavior that you learned when you were with the narcissist. Maybe if I offer more reasons, maybe if I speak some more words, those words will be the right one. You are desperately trying to give away more of what the person has already made it clear that they don't want, they don't respect, they don't love, but you're trying to give more of it away in hopes that somewhere out of that multitude of words, a part of that resonates with the narcissist, and then they stop yelling, stop calling you names, stop lying to you, change their behavior in some way. You are hoping that your actions will directly impact the outcome of the situation by changing the narcissist behavior. And again, this is just another form of control. This is not appropriate use of your power as a person. You are a very powerful person. You can make choices for yourself, and guess what? You will be just fine if somebody doesn't like the experience, the explanation, the reasons that you present to them at first. One of the things that I work up to with my clients is getting them to just say no. This can be very difficult at first when they're just learning boundaries, when they're just learning how to present themselves to the world unapologetically, right? Because they've been used to explaining, no, I can't do that because I have this and this and this going on, or I'm sorry, I can't do that. I wish I could, but I've got this, this, and this. So that's over-explaining as well. When you're a powerful person, you know that your reasons or lack of reasons, you don't need to just be busy. You don't need to have prior obligations in order for your no to be valid. If you don't want to do something, same with your yes, by the way. If you don't want to do something, you can simply say no, and that's a full sentence, and that's a very valid reason. And anybody who is not willing to accept that explanation shows you automatically that they don't respect you as a person. They don't view you as somebody who can make their own choices for their life. They see you as somebody, unless you're willing to do what they want you to do, you're not useful to them in their life. You're not valuable just by being a sovereign being. I've talked about this before in previous videos as well, that just because somebody isn't a narcissist doesn't mean that they're not toxic. And continuing down on that line of thought, just because somebody could be a very healthy person and a very good person, but that doesn't mean that they're the right fit for your life right now. And that's okay. So just because somebody is amazing and very healthy and has great boundaries and great relationships doesn't mean that that person is somebody that you should connect to. There's times and seasons in our life, and it's important that we know what season of life we're in, what that purpose of the season is, and so that we partner with that. If we are in, a winter season, so time when things are hibernating, things are more in a resting state, right? Things aren't blooming, things aren't growing. It's more of a resting state. But we don't understand that that's a season of our lives, and we try to cram in a bunch of new connections and try to make a bunch of things grow. We're literally working against the season of life that we're in, and we're missing out on a lesson that season is trying to teach us so that we can be prepared for the next season, which of course is spring. By the way, I explain all of this in my boundaries course, which you can take on my YouTube channel. You can download the PDF that goes along with that. It's free on my website, so go check that out. It's on the front page of my YouTube channel. You can find it there. If you don't understand how to do this, you're going to constantly be living a life that is filled up with the residue of your narcissistic abuse experience. And by that, I mean you can be damaging your current relationships, your future relationships, by doing some of these behaviors, and over-explaining being one of them. If you feel the need to explain in depth the reason why you made a certain decision, or why you can't make that decision work, or why you think that this thing has to happen, doesn't matter what it is, find out why you feel the need to do that. Is it because this person isn't going to accept yes or no as a response? Is it because you feel the need that isn't enough of a response? Is your response appropriate for the situation is my ultimate point. I just want to also explain something in this video about over-explaining. You might be thinking, who really cares if I over-explain? People should be happy that I'm giving them the full extent of my reason or decision-making process or answer or whatever the case may be. Here is the problem with that. Number one, that is still, you're still willing to settle for less than what you should. You're not willing to say, okay, this is actually part of the residue from my experience with abuse, and I need to get rid of that so that I'm totally clean and healthy, right? Which is something that is just for you, just so that you can live in a healthy state of being for the rest of your life, right? Because remember, there are certain cues that you are doing that can actually attract abusers into your life. And again, I'm not saying that that's right at all. I'm saying that that's the truth. And this is definitely one of them. But when it comes to connecting with other people, over-explaining can be seen as a lie, right? You're giving me so much information that I'm doubting all of the information that you're giving me. And so the relationship that you're desperately trying to build and want to connect with this person and share all of these things with is starting to view this as a red flag for them. And this is just the truth of the matter. Humans that are healthy are fine with hearing no, are fine with hearing yes, are fine with hearing, I need to think about that, let me get back to you in a minute. You know, that's a normal response. Somebody who goes into their entire life story when you're asked a question, that's not a normal response. And we know that instinctively, right? And so we can start to even question or even regret asking, you to connect with us in a certain way, or asking for, for you to get back or whatever. It can be a real red flag for the person that you're trying to connect with, or the business that you're trying to connect with. Remember that who you are flows into every single part of your life. There is such a thing as compartmentalization, but not when it comes to who you actually are. So in other words, if you think, okay, I'll work on that, in my personal life, but it will never come through in my professional life, or vice versa, that's just not correct. Who you are is going to come into every single part of your life because it's part of you. It's your character. So for example, if I'm never late for work, I'm never going to be late when I'm meeting my friends. I respect people's time. I can fully govern myself and make sure that I plan ahead to leave the house at a certain time so that I can be at whatever appointment I said I was going to be at the time I said I was going to be there at. That's just part of my character. So this same thing is true when we don't take healing from abuse of any kind seriously, when we don't take a look at our own flaws that may or may not have been caused by a response to abuse. When we don't do that, we are limiting the fullness of how we will experience every single part of our lives, not just our personal relationships, not just our professional relationships, not just our relationships with our children or our spouse or our parents or siblings, not just in, how much life we enjoy. We are limiting it in every single one of those areas. So I hope that this video has helped you understand a little bit more about over-explaining, why you do it, first of all, why this is a defense mechanism, why this is a red flag for the residue that you've been through in terms of abuse, and how this would benefit your life by watching your behavior so that you know what areas you still need to work on. Again, this is still a form of manipulation. Why do you feel that you need to manipulate? Most people do that because they feel that they're inadequate. They're not enough. If the person was to see you for who you were, if you were vulnerable with somebody, then they would reject you. And so you try to manipulate them to accept you because you want to be accepted. So if you can identify this, you can start the healing process. If you don't know that something exists, you don't know what you can heal. So again, I hope this video has helped you. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel below and turn on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel.